It should be due to the Queen, who is the longest serving monarch we've had. You wrote a book about her, which was a bestseller in Germany, I should say, The Queen. So what is it? What is this strange
If you'd asked this question 25 years ago, we would have all said, no, it's the end of the Windsors, because they were really terminally in decline. There was one problem after another, and the amazing, almost miraculous thing is for this Queen to have resuscitated the respect for her institution and for herself as a person. I think it also goes hand in hand with the decline, with the respect for the rest of the pillars of society, the banks, the political class, the media, dare I say, and the churches too. And amongst all these apparently crumbling sort of edifices, the monarchy suddenly stands out as an edifice of continuity, stability. And yes, I come from a country where you have as often an election for a new head of state, often as a result of a rather corrupted voting process. And this has all removed from the ebb and flow of politics. You have an institution which really stands above politics, which is a great source of solace in this divided and fragmented time that we live in. We discussed before. And so that adds to her mystique. And she's also a person of discretion and the sameness, same procedures every year. Someone wrote the other day that British people like no one else more than who performs the same duties day in, day out.
Whatever it is. Well, I can't wait for wouldn't it be interesting to be there when the first audience of Jeremy Corbyn as the new Prime Minister of Britain in 2020 with Her Majesty the Queen?
Not wearing a tie. Absolutely. Not wearing a tie with his vest on show. It would be fascinating, and I'm pretty sure that the Queen Elizabeth would be impeccable in the way that she would host, because this has been her style. I think she inspires a lot of respect, more than love. I don't think that people wake up, most British people do not wake up every day thinking about the Queen in the House of Windsor.
It's a good thing.
We are not, which is fantastic. But it's not an institution that inspires a lot of admiration. I think it's there. I think it's there. And she has performed her duties impeccably. Essentially, she has kept her mouth shut on all political issues, and that's how the institution has survived. Now, if this institution is going to be a hallmark of stability, or the source of stability of British democracy, I have further doubts, because people are wondering what will happen to the institution the day she decides that she calls it a day. People wonder what will be King Charles, and then the institution may start to crumble.
No, I'm a Republican. It's one of the things that really baffles me. I'm baffled. I'm sure it was a great book. Why did anyone in Germany want to buy it, with every respect? Not to you, but about her. I mean,
you're a great writer, obviously.
No, I'm sure they do because of you. I mean, the reason there's a mystique is that she hasn't ever given an interview, so of course there's a mystique. And if you compare the level of scrutiny against of these loathed elected politicians, Corbyn, for example, at the moment, Cameron, Osborne, and the fact, I think she has an easy time. I keep on reading what remarkable things she does. And I know at her age, and there's nothing personal. No media scrutiny of any significance, no challenging of her public positions because she hasn't got any. So I'm genuinely baffled by the fascination. I don't understand.
I'm a rebellious colonial, so I have absolutely no interest, no vested interest in the monarchy at all. But I do find that it's the ritual and the ceremony, I think, that sustain the monarchy. The state opening of Parliament, all those events, the Queen's official birthday, it's nice, it sort of marks the year with these kind of unifying festivities. And because she's such a blank slate, because she's such a tabula rasa, you can project anything you want. She's a kindly grandmother, or she's a wit, or she's a whatever you want to believe, she's there for the purpose.
So what was the interest in Germany? Why
the aberration comes from the fact that this is an institution which is there perennially and is not subject to any question whether it's institution.
It's just there.
It's just there.
It's an achievement.
And we've had so many elections in our country for head of state where people felt that this was a result of a political football game and so forth. And at least Britain is spared this sort of division of opinion about electing a new head of state. And also she's very democratic in that sense that she recognises the meritocracy. She does award prizes and awards for people who have excelled in their various jobs. And we also have the welfare monarchy. Don't forget all the Princess Trust and the welfare engagement of the Prince Philip and so forth. So that also creates a sense of support for the institution. I don't think there's any doubt that British people will continue to subscribe to it forever and another.
Came very close to shattering over Princess Diana's.
Well, as a member of the royal household at the time, mentioned it may not work in theory, but it works in practice. Was the view.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Britain. That's it for Dateline London for this week. You can comment on the programme on Twitter at Gavin Esler. We're back next week at the same time. Goodbye.
Hello there, the weather's taking a more autumnal feel to things this weekend and certainly into next week, where we'll see some gales and also spells of heavy rain. We've had a line of pretty heavy rain moving northwards across the country this morning. Behind it, a cluster of thundery showers and thunderstorms across northwest England, now across northeast England, giving some pretty hefty downpours in places. But you can see from the satellite picture a good deal of sunshine across the southern half of the UK, certainly. Some of that getting in towards Northern Ireland and southern Scotland now. And it's been quite warm across the southeast this afternoon. Highs around 21 or 22 Celsius. Quite breezy with it too, but at least in the sunshine feeling quite pleasant. Northern areas still cloudy with outbreaks of rain. So to end the days, we head on in towards the evening. Maybe just one or two showers across southwest England in towards Wales, potentially into the Midlands as well. But I think for the southeast of England, a fine looking day, tending to stay dry really until we head in towards this evening. Improvements across northern England as well into the evening with those thunderstorms and showers clearing away. Some sunshine moving in here, but not particularly warm. Temperatures around the mid-teens Celsius at best and still quite wet and windy across the northern half of Scotland. This evening and overnight, that band of rain and wind continues to move away, but low pressure never too far away from western Scotland, so it will stay quite blustery with further showers, particularly for the Hebrides. Next area of low pressure beginning to make inroads across the southwest as well later now, a few showers, but central eastern parts of the UK largely dry and settled with a few mist patches. Sunday morning we start off on a fairly cool note, central east now, but with some sunshine. This area of low pressure though will be making inroads during the course of the day, so it turns windier, wetter, cloudier across this southwest corner. Further showers across Northern Ireland, western Scotland where it will be breezy, but eastern Scotland, central eastern England generally fine and settled until later in the day. We'll see a cluster of showers pushing towards the southeast. Some of them could be on the thundery side as well, and a touch cooler generally across the board, 15 to 18 Celsius. Now, like I mentioned, the week ahead looks pretty autumnal. There will be heavy rain at times, windy as well with gales in places, but there will be some sunshine in between too. Now, as Monday's picture is looking particularly wild, this area of low pressure will bring gales to the south of the country, outbreaks of rain. For Tuesday, a bit of a window of fine weather before we see the next cluster of low pressure systems pushing up from the south for Wednesday and on into Thursday. So the picture for Monday is quite a wet one, quite an autumnal chilly feel to the day. Strong gale force winds across southwestern places initially and then along English Channel coast, so we can see some pretty strong winds here. Further north, not quite as windy, and there will be some sunshine in between the showers. Temperatures again around the mid to upper teens Celsius.
This is BBC News. I'm Anita McVeigh. The headlines at 3. Jeremy Corbyn celebrates with his supporters after becoming the new Labour leader.
Fantastic moment, fantastic mandate for changing Britain, fantastic enthusiasm for real democratic politics. It's a great day.
And I'm Norman Smith in Parliament Square, where Jeremy Corbyn will making his first public speech since becoming Labour leader at a rally for refugees.
Tom Watson is elected as the party's deputy leader and pledges his full support to Mr Corbyn. Former leader Ed Miliband has given Mr Corbyn his full backing as well.
I'll be offering Jeremy Corbyn my support, and I hope people across the party do so too. I hope also, and I expect him to do this, that Jeremy reaches out to all parts of the party.
Hello, very good afternoon to you and welcome to BBC News. The left-wing MP Jeremy Corbyn has been named as the new leader of the Labour Party. The 66-year-old, who was the 500-to-1 outsider when he entered the contest, secured almost 60% of the vote. In his victory speech, Mr Corbyn told MPs and party members that it was time for them to unite. Well, here are the results of the leadership election. Jeremy Corbyn won 59.5% of the vote, with Andy Burnham on 19%, Yvette Cooper in third on 17%, and Liz Kendall finishing last with just 4.5% of the vote. The party's deputy will be Tom Watson, who won his contest in the third round. A number of senior figures have said they won't serve in the shadow cabinet for Mr Corbyn. The Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary, Rachel Reeves, and the Shadow Education Secretary, Tristram Hunt, are among those who've said they won't join his top team. Meanwhile, Jeremy Corbyn has proposed reforming the way the weekly Prime Minister's question session takes place. Our political correspondent Robin Brandt's report contains flash photography.
His white hair just visible amidst the scrum. This is what you call a confident arrival for Jeremy Corbyn. With some of his supporters singing the red flag, the anthem of traditional Labour, the man some call simply JC was propelled into the conference centre. When the result came, it was that surprise that no one had predicted when the contest began. And the scale of the victory was staggering.
Jeremy Corbyn, 251.
Thanking everyone who took part in this election, this huge democratic exercise of more than 500,000 people all across this country. It showed our party and our movement passionate, democratic, diverse, united and absolutely determined in our quest for a decent and better society that is possible for all. Every time Andy...
He obliterated the others, winning in the first round by a huge margin. But he was conciliatory, perhaps a sign he does want to reach out. Later, outside a Westminster pub, he spoke to the BBC.
Fantastic moment, fantastic mandate for change in Britain, fantastic enthusiasm for real democratic politics. It's a great day.
The spin doctor said no more, but then came his warning to Labour MPs who've already quit top jobs in protest at his election.
There's going to be an inclusive, open process. I hope everyone will recognise the mandate we've received and that party members expect our party to deliver for them in Parliament.
So, who is Jeremy Corbyn?
Comrade Chairman.
A veteran MP of 32 years, he looks now as he did back then. He spent decades on the periphery of his party, associating with controversial causes, including the IRA and the Palestinian group Hamas. Now 66 years old, he's a vegetarian who's never far from his bike. So, Saturday the 12th of September 2015, the day the Labour Party got a new leader it never ever expected to get, and the day it got a leader that the vast majority of its MPs don't support. There'll be euphoria for Team Corbyn, but once that's passed, the big challenge is now keeping Labour together. The man who used to be Labour leader was quick to offer his support, but there was a warning too.
Our party is a broad church, always has been, always will be, and the task of the leader is to reach all parts of that movement, and I believe that's what Jeremy should do.
I think obviously he and Tom and the new leadership team will now want to be reaching out across the country to the public, because that's what this has now got to be about. It's not just our debate within the party that we've had for the last few months, but about the country as well.
He'll savour the moment he never thought would happen, the moment some of his critics hoped they would never see. Now the challenge for Jeremy Corbyn is, can he make the group hug last? Can he keep Labour together? Robin Brandt, BBC News, Westminster.
Well, Jeremy Corbyn is expected to arrive soon in Parliament Square, where there's a rally in support of refugees. We can cross there now and talk to our assistant political editor, Norman Smith. Norman, what does the overwhelming scale of this victory mean for Jeremy Corbyn and for the Labour Party?
Well, the scale of his victory, frankly, means that Jeremy Corbyn has a rock-solid mandate. He won in every section of the electorate. He won amongst party members, he won amongst trade unionists, he won amongst so-called £3 supporters. It was a decisive victory, which means those Labour MPs who might have been thinking, can we get shot of him anytime soon? Very unlikely indeed. Mr Corbyn, you may remember we followed him to a pub just around the corner, the Sanctuary House just down the road, and he said there that he intended to be a leader and to lead Labour into the next election. Now, he's due here in Parliament Square. You can probably see as several thousand people here are part of a rally to show solidarity with refugees. Jeremy Corbyn is coming here. The dulcet tones in the background is Billy Bragg. But interesting that Mr Corbyn has chosen very deliberately to come to this rally, because by my reckoning there's only one other politician on this rally that I've seen, which is Sadiq Khan. So it's a very deliberate move by Jeremy Corbyn to show the sort of issues he believes Labour should campaign on and the sort of issues that he believes important. Now, as you can see, there are loads of supporters. I'm just going to talk to a couple of people who have come to this rally. Let me just ask you, first of all, is it important for a figure like Jeremy Corbyn to come to this rally, do you think?
Yes, I mean, I think he would have been at this rally regardless of the Labour leadership contest, of anything. He has a long history of campaigning and looking after the most vulnerable people around the world.
They say Jeremy Corbyn's never said anything that he didn't believe in, and so by coming to this rally and joining these people, he's demonstrating again that he wants to present what the people think in this country. There's no other politician in the country where you could say that about, I don't think.
He's talked about creating a movement and encouraging grassroots politics. Politicians always talk about that sort of thing. Do you think this could be a different moment, or that is merely rhetorical?
I don't think he's created it, I'm sorry. I think he's tapped into it. I think there's an enormous groundswell in the country of people that are tired of the politics that we've had. They're ready for a new politics. Jeremy's the face of it, and hopefully he can bring it together into the force that it threatens to be.
There's an absolute lack of humanity from Cameron's government in the way that he treats people in this country, and also the way that he views, you see, his treatment towards the refugees. The numbers that we're saying we're taking in Britain is disgraceful, absolutely embarrassing, you know, and the fact they're going to deport kids when they get to 18, it's a really, really poor response that we should be ashamed of.
What do you say to those who say this is all a London bubble? This is a small part of the country that does not reflect the mood more generally in Britain.
Neither of us are from London.
And the numbers that you said at the beginning about the incredible, overwhelming support for Jeremy when he won today, I think suggests that can't be just in London.
Okay, thanks very much for your time, do appreciate it. So there we have the views of some of those turning up to this rally. But, you know, interesting, I've been talking to some shadow cabinet members too, and yes, there are those who've clearly signalled they will not serve. But what I find interesting is many of them seem to be waiting and watching to see what sort of leadership Jeremy Corbyn provides. Now, he has said he wants to be an inclusive leader. He does not want to have a purge of the moderates. He does not want to lead some uncompromising hard left sect. And if he manages to convince them that this is going to be a more inclusive Labour Party, then my instinct is many of those who we might have thought would not serve in a Jeremy Corbyn cabinet, they might actually be willing to serve under him. In other words, we might not see the huge hemorrhage of support that many people thought might have followed a Corbyn victory.
OK, Norman, for the moment, thank you very much. Norman Smith there in Parliament Square will be back there when Jeremy Corbyn addresses that rally. Well, joining me now from our Westminster studio is Joe Twyman, the head of political and social research for the polling organisation YouGov. Joe, afternoon to you. And unlike the general election, the polls did get it right this time, perhaps not even predicting the scale of Jeremy Corbyn's win.
That's right, YouGov were actually the only pollsters to produce a poll among Labour Party members, and just before the ballot papers went out, we saw that